Alright, so Uncle Sam FM here playing MLS. I kind of have some bad news. My last game crashed. It hit a certain date I couldn't get past. Obviously, it had something to do with editor files. I'm not sure if it was mine or if it was just the way that it um, meshed with another editor file that I had because I did have a lot of I like having a lot of international competitions and so on. So I think I probably just the way that interacted with one of the other editor files I had, which I had downloaded from SI. I think that's just kind of what happened. Although it's a little weird because I had ran tests and made it past that. So I got rid of a lot of those files just for the purpose of this, and I ran some tests and got well into the future, 4 or 5 years. Everything seemed to work fine. Did allow me to make a couple little changes, correct a couple little things in my own files, and then I also updated the Dynamo roster because they added a couple players this week, and over the past week, Luis Gill and forget his name, a Swedish left back, which we'll look at. So I thought what I would do is play the game. Reboot is what I'm calling it, as I'm rebooting this. Kind of a forced reboot. But we'll look. I'll just kind of show you how I do things right from the beginning. Go through these. I always attend these meetings myself. I never skip. And always tell them, yeah, great idea. Love to learn more about the club. I always do give them philosophies. I don't know why I do it. I guess just to kind of make it a little more realistic. It's never real life philosophies. At least, the Dynamo don't have philosophies. They just want to win. I guess you could argue that they do like to be diverse, but all the teams like that. But a lot of the foreign players, they prefer Central American players. Like right now, they've got a couple Hondurans. They do well. We'll look at the roster, but they don't really have any like style of play. It's not like Barcelona. Barcelona's got an identifying style of play. So I usually just go with my own personal philosophies for them to judge me on, and I always do tell them that I want to meet the media and tell them I have a long, successful career. I do like getting second opinions. The way I see it, I like to just try and take advantage of every aspect of the game that they offer you. Make it as immerse yourself as much as you can into the game. Use as many of the different things. I've been kind of monitoring dynamics and team reports, and they've got all of that in there, so might as well use it. I do want to meet my coaching staff. I don't think I use any of these. No. Agent offers. I usually try to get it to filter out. Yeah, I usually only want future prospect players. Yeah. Okay. And I don't make any board requests from the beginning. I don't like jumping right in and demanding a new stadium or training facilities or all that. I don't want to start off on a bad note, so I never make any requests right at the beginning. So these are guys I've got on loan, which Charlie Ward, I don't think the loan's official yet, but he'll be being loaned to RGV because with the addition of the left back from Sweden, that exceeds the international requirements. Luis Gill was just loaned in from Querétaro. Injuries, the only injury I'm dealing with looks like is Cinderos. And these are the MLS rules. Houston may sign a maximum of 3 DPs, which I have 2, I think, on the squad, so I can go get another one. And I usually have my scout go look for a DP. Responsibilities at Houston. I usually just take care of everything. Let's look at the Dynamo background. Strengths, weaknesses, overall depth. I will agree with that. Not a lot of depth in the beginning for the Dynamo. See, they want me to use my youth facilities. I do, but I may have some of the better youth facilities in MLS, but they just the regions in USA and FM, I'm pretty sure are hard coded and kind of random. So I don't worry too much about youth facilities. I worry like when I do upgrade my facilities, I go training facilities first. Those are my recommendations. I've got my own ideas on all that, and it's usually to do with positions, and we'll talk a little bit about that. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I take care of is training, so we'll look at that right away. First of all, team preseason is about fitness, so I have my team work on fitness for the first, until we get ready to start the season. Individual training. So what I usually do, and probably the easiest way to do this will be to sort this way. I do it individually, which takes some time, but it's sort of the best way. I train my players the way I want my team to play. So, for example, Eric Alexander is a midfielder. He normally, for me, will play that that attacking midfield position. And so what I look for are the training routines that most train the ratings that I like to see, in my players. All my players, I like to have vision and passing, but especially this position, and decisions. Because this player, I have them trying a lot of killer balls. And so, like a lot of through balls. And so I want that player to be good at passing. I want to have good vision so he can see where to put the ball, and then good decision making. I really don't worry as much about these others, but this is my style of play. My additional focus and normally I have this attacking center mid position play my corner kicks. So I try to make them better at corners. He's already okay at corners. Arturo Alvarez I have him play winger. So what I'll normally do is either one I'm not worried about, right or left, but I'll go with the inside forward because they work the passing and vision and pace, other things that I want my inside forwards to be able to do. And then he's older, so I'll probably end up taking this off because he'll get pissed. But I like working on penalty taking for my front three. I like to have guys that can take penalty kicks. And the front three are the positions that I can assign that to because I really don't have any other additional focuses to put them. Now, obviously, I'll make exceptions. So if I have a player who I need to have a good rating at something, for example, positioning or whatever, then I'll work on that. Maybe if they're really, really low, especially in passing, if they have a really, really low passing attribute, I might have an additional focus on that. But that's what I do. Wingbacks, this is an interesting one. If I remember correctly, I have them play fullback and then inverted because it works on vision, whereas the complete wingback does not. Yeah, see, the complete wingback does not work on vision, and I want all my guys to be good passers, and I can't train that with the additional focus. So and to be honest with you, I don't know if that makes, I don't want my fullbacks cutting in like an inverted wingback does. I don't know if training them as an inverted wingback does that. I don't think so. But it does work on his vision, so I usually do that. And he's older, so I'm not even going to try, but with my fullbacks, they're the ones who take all my throw-ins. So I have them work on long throws. See, he's a 5, so if he was a younger player, that would definitely be a concern. But he's older, and so he can't really handle a heavier training load. Eric Bird is kind of he's not a good player, so I don't worry too much about where I use him. But since he's a striker, we'll show that. I usually just go complete forward. Another thing I think about always is selling players. So I want them to be as diverse as possible, because you never know what other teams are looking for. So if I train all my strikers as a complete forward, then not only are they going to be able to do the job I want them to do, but their value to other teams will be higher as well. So, yeah. And then go back to Bird. I also train them at penalty kicks, as I said. I want them to be able to take penalties. Cabezas, he plays a defensive midfielder, and I think what I do with those, I don't think I use defensive mid because their visions is not good. So what I usually do is use the is it Segundo Volante? No, I just deep line playmaker, and then I work on their tackling, because you get vision, you get passing, but the problem is I need my defensive midfielder to be a good tackler, so I work on that. If he's already good at tackling, I might work on his strength, which his strength is higher than his tackling, so I will work on tackling. And this is something that I reevaluate every season, the additional focus. Serene, he will either play defensive midfielder or that second center mid position. I will train him as a defensive midfielder because he's only accomplished. I want him to be able. I want to make sure he can still play DM. His MC, he's a natural, so he's not going to lose that. So I have him trained as a defensive midfielder, as a deep line playmaker, and additional focus on tackling. De La Garza, see, he's a tough one because he can play along any position along the back. So I usually play him as center back. So I play him as a ball-playing defender. And as you can see, he still gets good work on his vision and his passing and decisions, which I like my center backs to be able to pass. I like my whole team to be able to pass. So it's important to me to have ratings in those. Elise normally plays as my center striker. And again, it's kind of a deal of if I train him as a complete forward, he's going to get everything that he needs as either a center striker or an inside forward. So, boom, complete forward. And then I'll have him work on penalty taking. Funmayor is a center back, so ball playing defender. One thing, and with the center backs, I usually don't do an additional focus because they already have so many. But if they're slower, I will work on their pace. And Funmayor is young enough to where this could help. So I'll add quickness because I play a high line, so I need those guys to be able to recover. Bonia Garcia is he's a tough one because there's so many different places he can play. But I usually play him at right back. And so, because of that, inverted wing back, and he still gets a lot of the ratings that he would need playing in other positions. It helps him in a lot of ways, like as a midfielder, because he's tackling. They still work on his tackling. He still work on his positioning. His off the ball's worked on. So that's just a good, role for him to train at, for not just right back, but for a lot of other different places. So we will train him because he's a right back, long throws, which he's low on, but he's older too, so I'm just going to take that off. Kevin Garcia won't be with us long, so but play him mostly at center back, and so we will, and he is a little slower, so we'll see if we can make him faster. Luis Gil, this is a new guy. He'll probably play the second midfield position. So what I'm going to do, train him in center mid and Mazzala. And the second midfield position usually takes free kicks. So I'm going to have him work on free kicks. If I can find it. Or does it not let you? Yeah, here we go. Free kick taking. Leonardo, center back. He's a decent center back. I think he is older though, so I'm not going to worry about his pace. And this is the new guy. This is Lundqvist. we just signed him from Sweden in real life, and so I've added him on the Houston roster in the game. I'm not a big expert on Lundqvist. I obviously didn't scout him, but from what I've read, what I've heard, he's more about attack than he is defense, and that looks like it kind of shows in his ratings. Decent pace, decent crossing, decent dribbling, okay at passing, but looking at his tackling, that's pretty weak. So what I might do is, instead of working on his long throws, I might work on his tackling, because that's pretty important for a fullback. He is younger. I think he's like 23, so he's got time to develop. Machado, he's another one that I'll probably play mostly at center back, so I'll have him play ball playing defender, and he's older, so I'm not going to worry about additional focus. Malky he's another guy who's terrible. I usually, if he goes in, it's usually as the second center mid, so I'm gonna train him in the ball deep lying playmaker. I'm not gonna worry about it. Normally I would pick tackling there, but I am going to pick. I'm gonna pick dribbling. It doesn't really matter because he's not a very good player, and he will never make it. Manotas is another guy who he can play all along the front, so I usually pick inside forward for him, and then penalty taking. Tomas Martinez, easily my best midfielder, but in the beginning of the game, he can't play the position I need him to be able to, so I train him as a center mid and then a Mazzala, and then work on his corners. Although he's already decent at corners, but hey, corner's a place where you can score a lot of goals if you do things right. And then my goalkeepers, my first goalkeeper, Michael Nelson, I always go with the sweeper keeper, and trying to figure out where to put his additional focus is a little challenging. Sometimes in games, the thing that I forget about the most is the leadership ratings. You need good leadership ratings to have a good captain. The captain, I think, does play a somewhat important role in the game, although not absolutely critical. But when it comes to maintaining squad harmony, it can be important. When you hit a bad run of form, you need a good captain to try and keep everybody together. So with my goalkeepers, and because I don't focus anyone else on this, I try and train them in leadership if they don't need desperate help somewhere else, which, the truth is, he kind of does, because he's not that good. So we'll just go. See, his aerial reach is not terrible. Handling not terrible, because one-on-ones could be better, so let's go one-on-ones. That's an important one, especially for my style of play. Padilla is another one. I'll train him, but he'll never be that. As a matter of fact, I'll probably end up loaning him this season. Kyoto, another guy who can play anywhere along the front, but he's usually, for me, a winger, so we'll play him outside forward and work on his penalty taking. Dylan Remick, who I think will be redundant now, but I'm going to make him a left back and train his long throws like my fullbacks. Mimo, he's a guy who he plays center mid, and I've played him at both, but bringing in Luis Gil for at least the next couple seasons, he probably will be better off trading as a deep lying playmaker. And I'm going to work on his free kick taking, because I like for my right center mid to take free kicks. Sights, goalkeeper, so make him a sweeper keeper. And his handling might be what we want to work on there. So we'll work on his handling. Senderos, center back. He's older, so I'm just gonna work on his ball playing as a ball playing defender. This is a guy, Stevie's, who will not be with the team in the future, but I'll still train him, try and get as much out of him as I can. Sullivan, another right back that probably won't be with the team long. Right back and long throws. Charlie Ward is loaned out. Jared Watts is a new guy who the Dynamo acquired that was not on the roster. But he can play center back or center mid. And those, when I get far into the game, or even when I join another club, I like finding center backs who can also play center mid, because it usually means that their passing is better. And his is not great, but it's okay. But I will work him as a ball playing defender. And I'm going to work on his quickness. See if I can't get him a little faster. Winger. Side forward. Penalties. He's okay. Serviceable. And then the Dynamo, this is another guy who wasn't on the roster, but he is on the roster in real life. And Joe Willis. So train him as a sweeper keeper. And he's actually pretty well balanced. But I do usually start out, when I've had him in the past, training him as his first touch. I'm not sure how important that is for goalkeepers, but it would make sense that it is. And it is one of the things that you train. So I'm going to work on that with Joe. And then we're back to Aguilar. Right? So that's how I do my training, and then we'll look at how I do my scheduling. So this is what we start with. These 4 games here are usually what you call your in MLS games. The first season you play a training camp. So I'll stick with that. I've also been invited to Portland's tournament, which is just a straight up 3-match group play tournament. Whoever has the most points at the end wins the trophy. But one thing I always like to do is start with a tour of Brazil. I like to go on a tour of Brazil. So, tour. This is what I do in the first season. Tour of Brazil. And I do try to start it kind of early, only because the Brazilian clubs, they start their state championships at some point. So, at some point in January, a lot of them. So what I'll do is I will pick the earliest and the latest date possible, and then for the time between these last 2 matches I pick 3 days, and then 3 days between the first 2 matches, and that leaves me 4 matches between the second and third. 4 days between the second and third. I do it that way on purpose because for this tournament I'm trying to get my fitness up, and so I'll play the first team the first match, second team the second match. Well, I'll start them that way and then sub them out, rotate them, and then we'll have 1 rotation in those 2 matches, and then get 4 days rest before we finish up the tour. So I try to go with teams that I feel like I can win against, because I'm not looking to go get ran off the field. So I'll go for very small reputation teams. And usually I go looking for teams that, I don't know, the name kind of sticks out. It's like Greek All. This looks like an interesting club. I do try and check their schedule to make sure that there's not going to be a conflict, because I don't want them to just... because in the past I've not checked that, and it's cost me. They'll pull out of the match, and so I don't want that to happen. So Itapuerno, let's see what they... Yep, that one's good. So yeah, the first year I'll play weaker teams, but maybe in the second year I'll try to find some more challenge. Well, the next time I go to Brazil, the second year I usually go somewhere in Asia, Japan, China. And let's see if they have. Not yet. Look at the schedule. Why didn't they do that for the other teams I picked? Okay, so There's no conflict, it looks like, with any of those teams, so I will confirm those tour dates. And then I noticed that there's kind of a long layoff between the end of the Simple Invitational and that Colorado friendly. So I will go and arrange a friendly there. Yeah, that's kind of a long layoff. In fact, let's set up a little friendly cup. We'll call it the Lone Star Invitational. And we'll invite just Texas teams. See if there's any there. Yeah, so New Stars, the Hurricane, and the America Academy. These are all terrible teams, and I'll probably beat them pretty soundly, but it's all about fitness and morale for the preseason. Alright, so we'll call that stop there. Maybe next time we'll play a game. I'll show you guys maybe how I set up my tactics. Look at the different tactics I use. I've got a few that I like. At least starting with, and we'll look at how I start rolling in other things. I'll probably have played a few friendlies by the next time I do the video. So again, this is a reboot of my Uncle Sam FM Plays MLS because of the crash. Tests on this were fine, so I should be able to get through. If you do have any questions about playing in MLS, please put them in the comments, suggestions on the video. But this is Uncle Sam FM, and I'm signing off.